Okay, so got a lot of different things going on today. Before I get into that, though, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm gonna start with this: two jurors in the George Floyd case dismissed after media coverage of settlement. So, you know, they, the city of Minneapolis, paid out $27 million, and the story, two of the jurors said they could not be impartial. You know, I don't, I don't think that this dude's gonna be convicted because they're going to, you know, once the jury hears the evidence that once they hear the evidence that that he was on drugs or whatever, I think that he'd end ultimately he would end up getting off. But I think the city of Minneapolis really messed up with this. When they settled this case, they caved to the extremists, right, to pay out this money. I don't think he may get a mistrial off of this. Honestly, he might get a mistrial off of just this alone because you know I don't know, and they've with how much attention this story got, there is no way. It's got to be really hard to find. Everyone's got an opinion on this, you know, but I think ultimately he's going to get off. But I think they messed up when they did this because it, they may be able to get a mistrial out of this. I'm not convinced, but it's definitely possible. So, but I think regardless, things are going to be crazy. Things are going to get crazy. Even if they, because there's no way they're getting them on murder charges. They're just not. They might be able to get them on manslaughter, but that's not going to be good enough for these far leftists. They're going to burn most of the country down again. It's going to be worse. You know, but in other news, I had to talk about this. Jack Posobiec, he put it out. He was getting emails about the stand down. And this gives me a little bit of hope because he's been getting a lot of emails that they're not following along with this, right? Like this one. It says my son is 20 and in the Marine Corps. This class, he's almost finished with whatever. They had to blank some stuff out. He said his staff sergeant closed the door and said, "We aren't watching this garbage. Just don't be a dick. Don't call anyone names. Got it." They agreed, and he dismissed them. They aren't very accepting of Biden. The Constitution, yes. The woke bull that they are promoting, no. So it's good to see that there's some pushback. You know, my question is, you know, how many people are pushing back against this, right? I mean, what is what's the ratio? What's, you know, because that's going to determine a lot of what's going to happen in the next few years. But in other news, the Auto Workers Union has informed the workers that Ford plans to move a major project worth $900 million from Ohio to its plant in Mexico. How about that strengthening of union labor? You know, it's it's sad. It's sad that the union leadership has sold out their, you know, has sold out their membership. It's sad. It really is. They, and it's just more jobs that were, the economy is not going to come back because people can argue all day and night about, you know, about whatever, but, you know, Biden puts these policies that do these things, raise gas prices, kill jobs. The economy's not going to come back, you know? But on the larger and more scarier things, the root is calling for genocide. And when I saw that, I thought that's that can't be possible. But so when I read, I looked up the article. You know, and they talk about like the Tree of Life synagogue in 2018, the 9 people killed at the Emmanuel African Methodist Church in 2015. You know, all this stuff. And they lie, racial profiling, voter oppression, mass incarceration. That's done by the mass incarceration was done by the Democrats. Joe Biden pushed for that. There's no disputing. You can go back and find it. But onto the part that Ian Miles was talking about, white supremacy is a virus that, like other viruses, will not die until there are no bodies left for it to infect, which means the only way to stop it is to locate it, isolate it, extract it, and kill it. What? So you're so their solution to deal with white supremacists, what they call white supremacists, is to kill them. All white people. Bro, this is I can't even believe I'm reading this shit. You know? And then they wonder why that people are so divided. You wonder why there's this, you know, I don't know. It's disgusting, and it needs to stop. And that, but onto some other news because that's some pretty dark shit. So 4 people from the FBI's terror watch list have been stopped at the southern border since October. It's great, that they caught them or whatever, right? How many weren't caught? That's the number one question: is how many got through or will get through? You know, and that's always been one of the talking points. Is we can't have you know we can't have this because this open border because they're going to come. We're going to have stuff like this happen. You know, it's it's not good. But I had to highlight this. You know, it's a story that's not getting a lot of attention. I think this guy died. I think he died today. So, man fighting for his life after teens sprayed him with lighter fluid or gas or something like that, set him on fire. Now they won't tell you this. This is the reason this isn't in the news is because this Stephen Amhauser guy's white. I mean, that's a pretty white name, right? Oh yeah, he died early Tuesday morning. So he lived in where was it? He lived in Rochester. So he was killed by Zavian Perry and Adriel Riley. You know, these were two African American kids that set a white guy on fire. I just and in a place like Rochester where BLM has this, they're out there pretty regularly. Seen a lot of them last year. They've been out there, so they. This is the kind of thing that you don't want to happen. You know, that's the kind of thing that when we get this massive civil conflict that's coming, you're going to see more of this. People just doing the absolutely most horrible things to each other. I've been trying to warn about this because it is super important. We cannot have this shit here. This is absolutely disgusting. Everything that's happening is just terrible. So you got this, they set a white guy on fire, and meanwhile the root is calling for genocide against white people. Where do you think that leads? And meanwhile, the DOD is putting out, they're prioritizing the LGBTQ whatever the fuck people they're in their decision making. So the president issued memorandum directing all U.S. departments and agencies that engage abroad or involved in foreign aid assistance development programs protecting human rights of the LGBTQI whatever. I don't know. It's getting pretty crazy. They're worried about this. Meanwhile, the Chinese are amassing the largest military ever. I don't know. It's not good. It sure seems like it's all falling apart. But this, you know, this is, it's an escalation, you know? And while that's happening, these leftists are calling for genocide. I don't, I don't know, and they say that, you know, people always say, "Oh, well, it's just an article, whatever." But then you see, you see shit like this. Things are only going to get worse. They're going to keep getting worse. People need to stand up, and at what point is enough enough? Because I could tell you, like I was saying, I believe that George Floyd or that Derek Chauvin is going to get off either through mistrial or through, you know, he's just going to be found not guilty. I don't know. In either way, Minneapolis is going to burn. You know, everywhere else is going to burn. Things are just going to keep. It's going to keep falling apart. But yeah, I think I'm going to leave it there.